Ever wondered what happens when loneliness meets unexpected connection? Tonight, we dive into a story where grief, desire, and the quiet moments in between collide in ways you won't see coming. Stick around to find out where the line between comfort and complication begins to blur. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories that keep you on the edge of your seat. I hadn't meant to let him in. He showed up like usual, once or twice each week since the funeral. Sometimes he'd bring groceries. Sometimes he just came to check the locks or take the trash out. Always with that same expression, gentle, worn out, like he still wasn't sure if it was okay to smile around me. Today, he was holding a box, my husband's belongings, mostly from the garage. Items I hadn't asked for, things I wasn't ready to face. He held it carefully, like moving too fast might cause it to fall apart. I thanked him, took the box, and placed it just inside the doorway. I should have said goodbye, closed the door behind him like always. But instead, I kept it open. "Have you eaten?" I asked. He blinked. Not yet." I motioned toward the kitchen. "I made too much." He hesitated, like he always did, in case I changed my mind. I didn't. He stepped inside, and I shut the door behind him. Dinner was easy, just pasta and salad. I lit a candle without thinking, then instantly regretted it. Too soft, too intentional, too much. I nearly blew it out, but he said nothing, so I left it. We chatted about regular things, weather, his truck, the old neighborhood. Light topics, just enough to keep the quiet from creeping in. He asked if I was back at work. I told him no. At some point, I topped off his wine without asking. He noticed. Our eyes met and held for a second longer than usual. That's when I felt it. Not desire, not longing, but a quiet shift. A warmth beneath the ribs, the kind that stirs when someone really sees you after you've felt unseen for too long. He wasn't flirting. He never had. But the way he listened, the way he looked at me when I spoke, it pulled something to the surface I hadn't realized was missing. The feeling of being noticed. After we finished, I got up to clear the plates. He went to help, and our fingers brushed at the table's edge. Just skin against skin for the briefest moment. But it lingered. I didn't move away quickly, and he didn't say anything. The faucet ran, dishes clinked. I poured the last of the wine, and we sat again, this time just a little closer. Neither of us said we were staying longer. We simply didn't move. We weren't really drinking anymore, just holding our glasses between quiet exchanges. The candle flickered lower. The kitchen grew warmer, softer. "I still sleep on my side," I said, staring into my glass. His sides untouched, pillows and all. He nodded, slowly, like he knew silence said more than words could. "I know he's gone," I continued. "I really do, but some mornings I still listen for his keys at the door. Habit, I guess. Like maybe I got it wrong. Like maybe none of this happened." He didn't try to smooth it over. He never did. That's just how he was. He let silence sit where it needed to. Then he said my name, softly. No pity, no question. Just my name, like it still meant something. Like I still meant something. And I hadn't realized how long it had been since someone said it that way. My throat tightened. I blinked and forced a smile. "Sorry," I said, half laughing. I don't know why I'm saying all this. Because you trust me, he replied. That's all. I looked at him, really looked. The creases around his eyes, the silver in his hair, the way his hands stayed still when he talked. He looked older than I remembered, but stronger too. Years ago, I used to think he was attractive. Not like my husband was, but in a quieter way. Steady, the type who didn't need to command a room to own it. And now he was here, sitting in my kitchen, drinking my wine, saying my name like it mattered again. That warmth returned to my chest, deep beneath the ribs, but this time it carried something else. Guilt. Because it wasn't just company I wanted. I wanted his attention. I wanted him to keep looking at me the way he was. And I knew I shouldn't. Not yet. Maybe not ever. I shifted, trying to push the feeling away. But it lingered, quiet and stubborn, settling in like something I hadn't wanted to name. He finished his wine and set the glass down with care. It's getting late, he said. I should have thanked him, walked him to the door, like always. But I didn't move, not right away. I stood to rinse the glasses. I didn't ask him to stay, and he didn't say he was leaving. We both acted like this evening was just like any other, though we knew it wasn't. He followed, just close enough to help. Picked up a dish, rinsed it, didn't wait for instruction. We moved together, like this wasn't the first time. Maybe it hadn't been, maybe not us, but something like this. Familiar. Our hands brushed again, this time over a plate. Neither of us pulled away. I handed him a towel. He dried in silence while I stacked the dishes. And for a few moments, it almost felt normal, like this night wasn't knotted up in grief and things I wasn't supposed to want. But when I turned to thank him, he was closer than I expected. Only a few steps away, close enough to feel it, the silence between us drawn tight. He didn't say a word, just held my gaze a beat too long. Then his eyes dropped to my lips and back again, like he didn't mean to let them wander, like he caught himself too late. Still, he didn't back away. I should probably, he began, voice quiet. You don't have to, I said, cutting him off too fast. I mean, not if you're okay with it. I regretted saying it as soon as I had. Not because I didn't mean it, but because I did. He blinked. You sure? I nodded. Yeah. The moment settled. He didn't smile. Neither did I. I sat again, this time on the couch instead of at the table. I didn't ask him to join me. He did anyway, slowly, cautiously, as though waiting for me to tell him not to. I didn't. We sat side by side, legs nearly touching. Not quite, not yet. A soft song played from the speaker on the counter, slow and quiet, the kind you don't notice until it's the only thing left in the room. And still, he didn't move away. So I did. Just a little, just enough for our knees to brush, for his arm's warmth to reach mine. He turned slightly, eyes locking with mine, in that same calm, patient way he always did, offering me every possible moment to stop. I leaned closer. He didn't pull away. And when his fingers found mine, slow, careful, waiting for any sign I might retreat, I didn't let go. I should have released his hand, thanked him for the meal, walked him to the door, and ended the night like all the ones before. But I didn't, because somewhere in the quiet, in the glow of that small candle, something shifted, once I saw it, I couldn't unsee it. It wasn't attraction, not even comfort, that led me to reach for him. It was the unbearable weight of going another night without being touched, and I despised myself for that. When he leaned toward me, I allowed it, not because it was right, but because stopping it felt lonelier. His kiss was gentle, cautious, as though he feared I might break. A part of me already had. We didn't say anything. Speaking would have made it real, too permanent, too undeniable when morning came. When we made our way to the bedroom, there was nothing romantic about it. No tenderness. It was routine. Two people moving through something that meant different things to each of us. I faced the wall to undress, not from embarrassment, but because I didn't want to see his expression. I didn't want to know if he was grateful, conflicted, or something in between. I already knew how I felt, like I had betrayed someone who wasn't even alive to witness it. I slid beneath the sheets without thinking, just like every night before. But this time, someone else followed. He climbed in beside me slowly, leaving space for me to either close or keep. I chose not to close it. When his fingers brushed mine again, it felt distant, not magical, more like something borrowed, something I hadn't earned. And still, I held on, not because I needed him, but because I couldn't handle being alone in the moment I had created and couldn't take back. We stayed silent. There was no need for words. Every inch of space between us was already filled with unspoken thoughts. He touched my shoulder, my arm, once, gently. I turned toward him, not from want, but weakness. Part of me wanted to scream, to tell myself, stop, turn back, don't do this. This isn't healing. But I didn't, because I wasn't healing. I was hiding, from grief, from the silence, from the truth that I missed being needed, even if it was by someone who would never fully be mine. And the worst part was that I felt it all: warmth, stillness, safety, and hated how much I'd missed it. Because my husband had given me those same things. And now, here I was, taking them from someone else, like they came without consequence. When it ended, whatever it was, we simply lay there, breathing. His presence beside me was quiet, steady, undemanding. And that somehow made it worse, because he hadn't done anything wrong. He had only ever been patient, respectful, the same man who kept showing up without asking for anything. And I was the one who invited him in. I was the one who couldn't sit with the silence anymore. I should have cried. I should have spoken. But all I could do was stay still with one thought louder than everything else. I crossed a line that only existed inside me, and I couldn't undo it. The dishes still sat on the table, untouched. No one had moved in a while. I leaned back, wineglass in hand, catching the way Mark and Bill were watching me. Not just polite, not just friendly. Their looks had shifted, somewhere between the second bottle and the third compliment. You know, Bill said, stretching in a way that looked too casual to be unplanned. It's kind of crazy that a woman like you lives here alone. Mark nodded, swirling his drink. Seriously, you handled that whole move better than most guys I know. And you cooked dinner? I mean, really. What don't you do? I gave a slow smile. Let them stare. I wanted them to. Plenty, I replied, standing to collect their plates. My shirt slid just enough for both of them to notice. I didn't fix it. But I'm working on that. Mark laughed low, his gaze lingering. No way someone let you go. You had to be the one who walked. I didn't answer, just turned and carried the plates into the kitchen, hips swaying with more purpose than usual. I could feel the heat of their eyes as I moved. When I came back, I didn't sit. I leaned against the doorway, wineglass in hand, watching them like I was measuring who would crack first. Truth is, I said, it's been a long time since I've had two men at my table making me feel this seen. Then someone's really been messing up, Bill said. That got their attention. Bill leaned back slightly, but his eyes stayed on mine. Mark set his glass down with a faint clink, a slow grin forming. Their silence told me everything. They weren't backing off. They were waiting. I pushed off the wall and walked toward them, letting each step draw out the tension. I stopped between them, my fingers brushing the back of Mark's neck as I passed. He didn't flinch, just exhaled, like I'd taken something from him. Then I turned to Bill. Close. Closer than I needed to be. You two want dessert? I asked, voice low. Or are you full? Bill's eyes dropped to my mouth. I think we've got room for one more thing. I smiled, then kissed him. His lips met mine with eagerness, like he'd been waiting all night for permission. His hand found my waist, pulling me in with a quiet intensity that made the space around us hum. I kissed him deeper, harder. I wanted to taste how badly he wanted me. Mark didn't speak, but I could feel his gaze, focused, waiting. Bill's shirt felt soft beneath my fingers, but I didn't linger. My hands moved quickly, working the buttons loose as our mouths stayed together. The fabric slipped away with a faint sound, and I eased it from his shoulders, letting it drop to the floor. My palms traced his chest, warm skin, firm muscle, and I felt him release a breath, like he'd been holding it since I'd first opened the door. His eyes looked down at me like I was unraveling him piece by piece, and I was. I kissed my way down, slower now, lips marking the path I wanted to claim. My hands followed, tugging and teasing until there was nothing left between us. He stayed still, jaw tight, his eyes tracking every move like he couldn't believe it was real. I knelt before him, continuing with my mouth what my hands had already begun. He made a sound, not loud, not clear, just a breath caught on the edge of speech and never spoken. His hand slid into my hair, fingers threading through slowly, unevenly. I didn't hurry. I moved with intent, letting each motion say what I didn't. When I looked up, I saw Mark still watching, his lips slightly parted, chest rising fast. My mouth didn't stop, but I met his eyes and smiled. That was all it took. He stood, walked over slowly, and stopped beside us, close enough for his warmth to touch me. I shifted where I knelt between them, adjusting just enough to reach out to Mark with one hand while my lips remained with Bill. The rhythm changed, less careful, more instinctive, as I gave each of them what they silently asked for. I let Mark feel what Bill had, then turned back with a grin that seemed to pull the air from the room. A kiss here, a touch there. Hands moved, lips followed. Our breaths tangled in the air. They stood over me, barely steady, each offering more. Every second I kept going. I took it in, I wanted more. I had moved past waiting. It was Bill who moved first. His hands gripped my waist, firm and steady. In one fluid motion, he pulled me upward, our mouths meeting midair. Before I could take another breath, he lifted me like I was already his, like I belonged in his arms. He didn't say anything, just turned towards the couch and walked. He sat down heavily, pulling me with him, like letting go wasn't an option. His hands stayed at my waist, fingers twitching slightly as I hovered above him, still caught in the charge of what we'd begun. Behind me, I heard Mark moving, slow and deliberate. He didn't speak, but the sound of his steps was enough. Then he was there. His hands found my hips, warm, assured. He guided me forward, and I followed without hesitation, placing my hands on Bill's arms where they held me steady. My body leaned into him, his hands supporting me, one moving up my spine, the other staying low. Mark's breath hit my skin first, low and near, and then his lips followed, tracing down my back, leaving warmth wherever they touched. He didn't rush. He played, but I was already leaning into him, pressing back, my knee burning with too much heat to stay still. He moved behind me, one hand guiding me higher as his body lined up with mine. His hold tightened. He filled the space between us with care and tension until I felt like I might break from it. My breath hitched as his weight settled against me, and I gasped into Bill's chest. My fingers dug into him, holding tight. Bill ran a hand along my back, like he was grounding me through the rush. Mark didn't hurry. He was steady, focused, intentional, each movement deliberate, like a slow wave pulling me deeper. I moved with him, chasing his rhythm, craving the closeness, the build, the way each breath added to the need. Bill's hand slid into my hair, the other gripping tighter at my waist. He whispered against my cheek, words I didn't fully hear but didn't need to. I didn't know how long it lasted. I only knew I didn't want it to stop. But just before I could ask for more, Mark's breath caught, and he withdrew. I felt his warmth fade, the air shift. Then Bill opened his arms, and I turned into him, climbing onto his lap with slow purpose. My knees sank into the cushion on either side of him, and I guided myself down with a breath that trembled through every part of me. My hands pressed to his chest, fingers spreading wide, steadying me as I lowered myself inch by inch. He groaned against my neck as I settled into him. I paused there, breathing, trembling, before I began to move. I set the rhythm, grounded and wanting, each movement intentional, like I could write him into my body. His hand slid beneath my shirt, tracing up my back, pulling me closer with every motion. Below, I heard Mark again, before I saw him, his breath even and close. Then he joined us on the couch. I reached for him without thought, mouth already parting, one hand finding him in time with my rhythm. I leaned forward into him, Bill holding me steady from behind. My lips pressed to Mark's skin, eager and bold. He cupped my face as I leaned in further, his breath hitching with every wave. Below, Bill groaned, pulling me down harder, matching our pace. I moved with both of them, body shifting, breath shared, hearts racing. The lines between us disappeared as we gave in to the same rising storm, and I wasn't finished. Not close. I didn't even notice the moment the room fell into silence. It wasn't the peaceful kind. It was charged, electric, thick with tension. Bill remained beneath me, hands resting on my hips, breath warm at my collarbone. I moved slowly, deliberately, chasing every reaction he gave. Then I felt Mark behind me again, closer now, more certain. I turned my head just slightly, just enough to meet his gaze. There was no doubt there, only purpose. Desire wrapped in restraint. Bill looked up at me at the same time, and I saw it. Something unspoken passed between them, a shared message. And then they moved. Bill shifted his grip, anchoring me. Mark's hands returned to my waist, firm, focused, ready. My breath caught before anything else could. I froze, not from fear, but because my body already understood, already craved what was coming. Mark leaned in, his chest pressing lightly against my back, his voice a quiet murmur at my ear. "Breathe," he said. And I did. He moved into place with care, slow, purposeful, unrushed. The pressure followed quickly, sharp and growing with each moment he drew near. My hands gripped Bill's shoulders, my lips fell open, and a sound slipped out, pulled from somewhere deep and wordless. Bill said something under his breath, too soft to hear clearly, his arms bracing me while Mark found his position behind me. Then they were both there, one grounding me, the other answering the need I couldn't hide. I was caught between them, folded and enclosed, completely overtaken. They gave me a moment, maybe two, before they started. Not rushed, not harsh, just enough to send me floating. Their rhythm wasn't perfect, but that made it better. It was real. One moved forward as the other eased back. Then they swapped. Then, briefly, they moved together, just enough to make my breath stutter and send heat flooding through me. I couldn't keep up. My thoughts slipped away. My hands moved without direction, across Bill's chest, over Mark's arm, to the cushion beneath my knees. I reached for anything solid, but there was no footing when they had me like that. The way they moved in sync, it wasn't brute strength, it was harmony, precision, the right pull, and the perfect hold. Every breath took me deeper, until all I could feel was the edge of something ready to break open. Bill's lips were on my neck then, his breath hot, his grip unyielding. Then Mark's voice came again, steady and close. "You're doing so good." And I believed it. I felt it in how he stepped back just enough when I needed air, only to tighten the tension again moments later. I was on fire. Sweat dampened my back. My legs shook so badly I barely registered when they lifted me, just enough. Closer, tighter, more. My spine bent between them, their bodies locking around mine until I couldn't move. I could only feel, and I felt everything. The way they touched me, the pattern of their breathing, the warmth where we met. Nothing held back. I was shaking, unraveling. I didn't speak, didn't call out, until I did. "Don't stop," I whispered, breath barely holding the words. "Come, please." And then it all broke. That final second when everything inside me let go. I was theirs. My body jerked between them, overwhelmed by something too powerful to resist. My head dropped, hands slipped, and I gave in. The sounds that came out weren't soft. They spilled free, uneven, raw, real. They stayed with me, every movement held steady until I had nothing left to give. Bill's hands supported my waist. Mark's held me at the shoulders. Together, they carried me through every surge. I crumpled into them, breath gone, completely spent. And still, they were there, solid, unshaken, like the world had narrowed down to only this. None of us said anything. We didn't have to. That moment stayed with me, not just what they did, but how they did it. No holding back, no second guessing, just absolute surrender from beginning to end.